Hi everyone, and welcome on another transformational, sensational webinar with none other than Europe's leading shaman and spiritual guide to billionaires, executives, politicians, celebrities, and even farmers and musicians, none other than Manex Ibar. Please get ready to start attracting, creating, and really stepping and entering into soulful, fulfilling relationships that fill you up with love, with energy, with encouragement, with empowerment, confidence, and everything else what your souls really chooses to and desires to experience in this beautiful life. Now, I will introduce you this amazing man very shortly, but first, let's just welcome Manex. Manex, thank you so much for taking the time. Greetings from Bali. I know you are in France, in the Basque country right now. Thank you so much for taking the time and being here together with us on this webinar.
Hi, Clement. Hi, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm really excited for this workshop. It's one of my favorite topics as it's super important. Relationships are just amazingly important to our soul's development, our growth. And so thank you for having me. This is going to be exciting.
We are equally excited, Manex. So let's start immediately. Now, dear listener, here's how your life will start shifting for the better. Here's how the white magic will start entering in your life once you start implementing and practicing the wisdom that you will learn today from Manex. So there are actually three specific outcomes that you can expect to start experiencing. The first one is, as the title and the name and the topic of this webinar suggests, you will start attracting what Manex calls soulful, conscious, fulfilling relationships that really fill you up with empowerment, that give you more energy so you can move forward and really live your life according and in alignment with your soul's essence. Manex, can you share a little bit about this specific outcome, how life starts to change once we start attracting these new, enhanced, fulfilling relationships?
Yes, once you're in a higher vibration, you start attracting not only love relationships, but even in your career, in your friendships, and you really start having a very powerful shift where your relationships start feeding you. They start giving you energy. They actually even give you longer life. This is one of my teachers' wisdom was saying, depending on your relationships, you will live longer or shorter. So it's really important, and this is the key to your own happiness, but also your fulfillment of your soul's essence.
Amazing, wonderful, Manex. I can't wait for us to go deeper into this. Now, the second equally important outcome and result that starts happening once we really connect with ourselves is we find it so much easier to disconnect and move forward or detach from any relationships that are not aligned with our soul's essence, from any relationships that are perhaps today draining our energy and are preventing us from evolving or growing. So Manex, any thoughts on this important topic, letting go and moving forward from any relationships that are not aligned with our soul's essence?
One of the hardest things is to let go, especially when we're in love or we're in habits with our current relationships, but that they're actually dragging us down. They're actually keeping us from evolving, right? And so when we move our own energy, we're able to change and transform the relationships that we have and let go of them in a conscious way so that there's no wounding there. And then we can liberate space and create space to invite new, invigorating relationships. It's so important, and I think we have a very hard time letting go. And this is something that we'll cover in this workshop right here, right now.
Wonderful, Manex. Thank you so much for sharing this. I'm so excited to dive deeper into this. Now, the third beautiful outcome and result that you, the listener, can expect to start experiencing, and this is actually one of my favorite, in fact, the favorite, is you will start connecting with yourself on such a deeper level. You will start feeling yourself really on such a profound, transformational way. You will really connect with who you really are, with what Manex calls your soul's essence. Manex, any thoughts on this, on the power of connection with your true soul's essence?
Yes, Clement, this is the key. I mean, if you're not connected to your higher being, you're only going to attract, low frequency relationships, and they're going to drag you down. As soon as you connect with your soul essence, this is something that I've taken the time to do for a very long time, spending time with myself in moving myself up. And, you know, I've gotten a blessed life with incredible clients, amazing love partner. Hopefully she'll come by, I don't know, and attracting incredible friendships. And this is the key, is having your own alignment to be in your soul's essence so that you can not only shine, but also attract the right relationships to you.
Amazing, Manesh. Now, dear listener, here's specifically what you will learn on this webinar from Manesh. First, we will cover how the quality of your relationships and social bonds that you have with the external world, and of course also with yourself, as Manesh shared, how this quality of relationships actually directly impacts the quality of your life. You will also learn 5 fundamental human relationships that Manesh will explain and how they impact the quality of your life, the quality of connection with yourself, and of course, how this also helps you not only attract fulfilling and soulful relationships, but also to enjoy them, to stay in these wonderful relationships. We will also do a quick self-assessment test. So today on this webinar, you will actually we will get a score where you stand today when it comes to relationship with yourself and relationship with your external world. And finally, and this is the seed and the essence of this webinar, Manesh will share with you and teach you something what Manesh calls the magic mirror effect. And this is actually one of the most profound techniques and wisdoms that I've learned and discovered recently thanks to Manesh. And it involves the power of the mirror, how the power of the mirror can actually help you connect with yourself on probably deeper level than you have ever connected with yourself, and how this eventually helps you transform your relationships with external world and also attract meaningful, soulful relationships. Now let's first cover why this topic of attracting soulful, fulfilling relationships is so important today and why it really matters. So, as you probably know, as you probably seen and experienced as a human being living in today's times, right? As a society, as human beings, we are becoming more and more connected digitally. But as a result, we are also getting more and more disconnected emotionally, spiritually, energetically. And also this, of course, has usually for most people negative impact, not only again on your relationships perhaps, but eventually this impacts the quality of your life. Now, there was one famous Harvard study where researchers were studying people, what impacts the happiness of people. And I have on my laptop here, but basically what this Harvard study found out is that, literally, I'm quoting right now the summary, the essence of this study, that good relationships keep us happier and healthier. And in this study, there were 3 particular statements that are so relevant to today's webinar of attracting soulful relationships. Now, the first one, and Manesh, I would love for you to share your thoughts on this particular statement. I'm quoting right now what the researchers have found out. Quoting, "Social connections are really good for us, and loneliness literally," and this is a heavy word, "kills us eventually." Manesh, any thoughts on this, on how social connections are really good for us and that loneliness eventually leads to degradation of our lives?
We are social creatures, Clement, and we need that social interaction. And this is actually how we mirror each other and therefore find out about ourselves, is through the other. So relationships are really here to help us enhance our life. They invigorate vitality. They help us become seductive. They help us come out and be creative. They help us get more intellectual and actually ignite our brains, neurons, so that we can actually become smarter and more connected within, just like the exterior where we're connected exteriorly. So relationships, as I said, the master had told me, if you find the right partner, you're going to live longer because you're going to be supported with your life's essence, versus if you are married to the wrong partner, you're probably going to die faster. So the Harvard study is exactly right.
Amazing, Manesh. Thank you for sharing your wisdom on this topic. Now, you mentioned something very important, the memory and the brain's cognitive abilities, which is another thing that this study actually found out. I'm quoting here, "Good relationships have the power to sharpen your brain's cognitive ability, such as memory." So basically, evolved, soulful, fulfilling relationships actually also improve your brain functions. Manesh, any thoughts on this particular topic?
Yes, our brain has this incredible aspects. They're called mirror cells. And so the person that you're with is going to actually influence your brain's memory and also your mirroring cells. And basically, if you're in a stimulating relationship that's soulful and conscious, it's going to trigger your brain to enhance itself and raise itself so that you actually find new solutions. You find this creativity and you basically raise your consciousness. This is a key thing. I actually studied a lot to be alone and be sustainable, and I realized it was a mistake. Humans are really meant to interact with another so that we can really learn about ourselves and grow together, sharing experiences. And creating memorable, shared experiences is truly what gives purpose to our life.
Memorable shared experiences. Such a wonderful statement. I'll remember this one definitely. Now here's another very important quote from this particular study. It is not the quantity of relationships, it's the quality of your close relationships that matter. Now, all of us somehow resonate with this, right? However, I would still love for you, Manesh, to share with us how you see this difference between the quantity of relationships versus the quality of relationships, and how it relates to the soulfulness, to fulfillment, to our connection with our soul's essence, and our human experience as spiritual being.
Yeah, I think this is something that's really important, and even some of the celebrity clients that I have who obviously have a huge amount of people and followings, and therefore they have a lot of connections with people, but most of those connections are very superficial. And what's really lacking is deep connection. And that deep essence, that deep conscious connection is what brings our soul into a deeper, meaningful expression of itself. And so we need that depth, we need that deeper connection, and that's the quality of relationship. On top of it, I think for most people, we don't have so much time, and so we get dispersed, and our vitality gets dispersed when we have tons of relationships, and they're usually still on a superficial level. Versus when you have deep quality relationships, you can spend less time but more focus, and you go very deep. And this is actually going to enrich our vitality, enrich our brain, and enrich our heart. And that's the key to having soulful relationships. You can actually go deeper with your soul.
Amazing, Manesh. So to summarize this study, the key to really having an amazing human experience as a spiritual being on this earthly plane, of course, is to attract soulful, fulfilling relationships. And on this webinar, Manesh will actually share with you how exactly to do that. And you might be surprised. And what you will learn today is most likely not what you think you will learn. And this is again another reason why Manesh is such a special and highly gifted teacher that has enhanced also not only my life but the lives of thousands of people around the world. Now, dear listener, now it's time to do what we usually do on our webinars, which what we call a self-assessment. Now, the purpose of this self-assessment is to help you understand where you stand today when it comes to your relationships with the external world, as well as your relationship with yourself and your soul's essence. Now, one thing that's very, very important for this self-assessment is you want to be as truthful and authentic to yourself as you possibly can be, knowing that your answers, your score is only for you. Nobody actually knows what your score is. That's why it's another beautiful tool to really help you kind of gauge where you stand today. So let's do this. And again, whatever answer usually comes first, through their soul, this is usually the most truthful and authentic answer. So let's do this. So the first question is, how connected do you feel today with yourself and your soul's essence? And score yourself from 1 being extremely disconnected, like I'm not even myself, I don't even recognize myself, and 10 would be I feel extremely connected with my soul and my soul's essence. So how connected do you feel today with yourself and your soul's essence? 1 being extremely disconnected, 10 being extremely connected and aligned. Again, whatever answer comes first is usually the most authentic, truthful answer that your soul is communicating to you. Now, the second question is, how confident do you feel about sharing yourself and your essence with the world, with the external world? So how confident do you feel about sharing yourself and your soul's essence with the world? And soul's essence might reflect in your gifts, in your confidence, in just being who you really are. So how confident do you feel and are you today to really be who you really are? And again, the score 1 would be extremely, totally not confident, totally disconnected, and 10 would be, I feel extremely confident being myself. In fact, I am myself all the time. So again, whatever answer comes first is usually the most truthful and authentic answer. Now, the third question would be, is how fast do your soul's deepest desires and aspirations manifest and materialize in your physical reality? So this one is related to you can call it manifestation. Manex rather calls it materialization. How fast do your soul's desires actually come into reality? 1 being they never come into reality, it takes ages, forever. And 10 being you manifest and materialize your soul's desires extremely rapidly fast. And again, whatever score comes down first is probably the most authentic and truthful score. Now let's go to fourth question. Fourth question would be, how empowering and fulfilling are your current social relationships? So how empowering and fulfilling are your current relationships? 1 being extremely disempowering, extremely draining, holding you down. 10 to being extremely empowering. It's just all your relationships are fueling you up with infinite source of energy. And when I'm referring to social relationships, this includes perhaps your romantic relationships, this includes your friends, your family, perhaps your parents, siblings, co-workers, so the people around you. So how empowered and fulfilling are your current relationships? Again, 1 being extremely disempowering to 10 extremely empowering and aligned with who you really are. Again, answer yourself truthfully, knowing that only you know your score. And the final 5th question in this self-assessment is, how easy has it been for you to let go and detach from relationships from which you know that they are draining you, or from relationships that you know are not serving your highest good? So how easy has it been for you to move forward in your life and detach from any low vibrational relationships that are not serving your highest good? 1 being extremely uneasy, you can never detach and move forward from any relationships that are not aligned with you. 10 being moving on with your life and from any empowering, disempowering relationships is extremely easy for you. Again, whatever answer comes down first is the most truthful answer. Now here's the best part why we are doing this self-assessment. It's for you to, of course, help you understand where you are today and kind of feel where do you have room for improvement. And second, this also helps you not only see where you are today, but as this webinar is designed to actually move this course closer to 10s. And as you will see today, it's literally possible to have all these questions eventually answer them with 10. And sometimes you might even answer them with 11 if you start, and when you start implementing what Manex is teaching, of course, to his clients and his students around the world. Now, dear listener, please allow me the honor to introduce you to our teacher, today's guest, Manex Ibar. So in case you didn't know, Manex Ibar originates from the Basque country, which is a beautiful region that borders on the northern Spain in Europe and southwest France. It's a beautiful region. I visited there. It's one of the most beautiful regions in Europe, covered with gorgeous mountains and forests. And if you ask Manex if he's a tropical person or more forest, or if you have to choose, or if Manex would have to choose between, in fact, Manex, let me ask you, if you have to choose between tropical and ocean and beach on one side and mountains and forests on the other side, which one would you choose?
Mountains, forest, and all the magic of the mystics of the mountains. I'm actually considered a high mountain shaman in some traditions.
Amazing, and I can totally vouch for this. When I visited Manex in beautiful Biarritz in Basque country, we went hiking to the mountains, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful experience. Now, what makes Manex different and special and unique compared to other shamans out there and other spiritual teachers and guides and healers is that Manex is literally a personal shaman to some truly influential people in today's world, including billionaires, executives of large corporations, politicians, celebrities, and as I mentioned, some truly, truly influential people. Now, of course, Manex doesn't work only with influential people. Manex is extremely humble being, as you already feel today, right now. On this webinar, he also works with farmers, musicians, and people who might not be considered as the most influential people on this planet. But the core of his clientele include some truly, truly remarkable people, and two of them, you might have known them. Manex gave me permission to share this with you, are also John and Missy Butcher of Livebook. So if you've been at Mind Valley, if you've been a fan of Mind Valley, you probably heard of the program called Livebook and their founders, John and Missy Butcher. Well, Manex is their personal shaman and spiritual guide. Now, another beautiful thing about Manex is not only he has his teachers and his masters, but he personally has also taught and initiated a lot of other shamans and healers and spiritual guides. In fact, Manex has over 20 years of experience from various different shamanic practices and lineages and techniques and modalities, and is just a massive, massive vault of knowledge, of wisdom, of tools and modalities that really help transform basically all aspects of your life. Now, another fascinating fact about Manex is that Manex was actually once a very successful corporate executive. He was actually the youngest VP in Sony Corporation. You've probably heard of the corporation called Sony, mobile devices, mobile phones. It's a massive, massive corporation, and Manex was actually the youngest vice president in this massive corporation. So he actually had a very successful career prior turning into shamanism and following his calling. That's also something that makes Manex special and different compared to other spiritual guides there. Manex has experience from the real life corporate world and how that looks like. Another interesting fact that you might not know about Manex is that he has a degree as a Tonmeister. Now, Tonmeister is a German word, but that basically means master of sound engineering. Not only that, but Manex himself is also a musician. When I visited him in his home in Basque country, he basically demonstrated how well reversed he is on drums, piano, I mean everything, you name it. And again, if you think about it, shamans often use a lot of instruments in their experiences and shamanic journeys. Now, another fascinating fact about Manex, and which eventually led him to the path of shamanism, is that he was actually struck by a lightning. And as you can see, he is still alive and still well today, but however, highly reborn and a new human being. Now, what's fascinating about Manex's story and how Manex actually came to Soulvana is how we actually met. Now, here's why I'm sharing this with you. So we literally get here at Soulvana and Mind Valley hundreds of proposals from spiritual teachers and guides from all around the world who want to get published by Soulvana or by Mind Valley. And Manex, I would love for you to share your story, how our life journeys intersected, how we met, how today we can consider ourselves as dear friends, trusted friends, and not only that, how you came to be as one of the few authors on Soulvana platform. Manex, I would love for you perhaps to share how you see this beautiful story unfolding.
With pleasure. It's quite a nice story. I was actually in Jamaica at the A-Fest, invited by John and Missy to help them evaluate a lot of the life book and the Mind Valley kind of connection that was birthing. And right at the end, when John and Missy were leaving, as it was saying goodbye, and then John says, Manex, you have to go meet Clement. You have to meet this guy. You guys are brothers. And so he sent me right away to go to the other hotel. And as I walked into the lobby, and I mean, this is the last day of A-Fest, right? In the last half hour, basically. And I walked into the lobby, and there you were, beautiful Slovenian bear, just like the bass bear that I am, and we just kind of locked eyes and immediately had a magic connection. And I think, in a sense, to this workshop, I think both of our soul essences were in vibration, and the connection was made super quickly. And eventually we became good friends, and you got to discover what I'm all about.
Yeah, and this has been a wonderful journey, Manesh. I also remember that moment. By the way, dear listener, Manesh is a massively large human being. He's literally, that's why we call each other bears, because I'm considered quite tall and large, but Manesh is larger, like this massive man with a beautiful, amazing big heart, equally super gentle also, as you can already feel today.
Yeah, I think basically it was our hearts that connected each other through purpose and through soul connection.
I couldn't agree more, Manesh. Another reason why we are here today, and why I personally also felt so empowered to not only learn from you personally, and you helped me so much, but also to bring your wisdom, your magic to our audience here through Soulvana. And thank you again, Manesh, for being here. Now, Manesh, let's cover another beautiful story from your personal experience, especially a story that's so related to today's topic of attracting soulful relationship. Manesh, you want to share your story, first story, how your relationship, and especially relationship with yourself, got impacted when you moved from Europe to United States. If you can share this, Manesh, and how it relates to the topic of attracting soulful, fulfilling relationships.
So when I was in Europe, I was quite a happy child, and at 8 years old, I moved to the US, and basically the cultural codes were so different that I went into a very deep depression. For almost 4 years, completely, my body changed, I cried almost every day. It was quite drastic, and basically I was quite a loser. People were making fun of me. It was devastating, and I really had to go dig deep within me, which actually led me to have one of my first shamanic experiences at the age of 13, 14, that brought me into spirit and started connecting me to what is the soul essence. And actually that moved me into how I started the journey of music. But music and piano was the thing that I could hang on to, so that I didn't go into a full depression. I mean, it was really hard. I really wanted to not only move back to Europe, and yet every summer when we went back to Europe, I felt disconnected from Europe as well, because I had left that culture. And so at one point I felt completely isolated, where I didn't connect in Europe, I didn't connect in America, and I did have suicidal thoughts. I had really a desire to leave this planet.
And I myself can totally relate to that, Manesh, as well. Roughly 4 years ago, I had similar thoughts of leaving this earthly plane forever. And thanks to the universe and my soul, I discovered my light, and now we are here. This is really inspiring, Manesh. Now, another really beautiful and empowering story is how you met your today's queen. I call her Queen Victoria. Manesh, if you can share a little bit more about this, and this is so related to attracting soulful and fulfilling relationships. Now, for some context, dear listener, as I mentioned, I visited Manesh in Basque Country. I also met his Victoria. Manesh, I would love for you to share this beautiful part of your life and your materialization of a soulful romantic relationship.
So yes, Clement, this is really relevant to today's topic and to actually all the different aspects of what we've already mentioned. I was already in a relationship. I was actually married, and our relationship just deteriorated very much. And we were arguing and fighting all the time, up to a point where my partner at that point was just, saying that we need to be divorced. We need to go through the divorce. It was just daily. And I decided, okay, since I know this work, I needed to up-level myself. I needed to increase my energy, increase my soul connection, and bring that into my materialization. And so basically, I went and did a lot of different practices, and I did some workshops to really up-level. And at one point, in actually the life book, during the envisioning, I saw a whole new person that I've never met before in my 5-year vision, which is quite amazing. And so it was shocking because I was already in a relationship, but yet somebody else was in my vision in 5 years. Now what happened is I kept to the vision, and my relationship completely deteriorated and we broke up. And about 5 months later, Victoria materialized, who is exactly the woman that I saw in my vision. And it was just an incredible story of how we met at one of my teachers' drum circles and meditations for the solstice, where he really talked about breaking with the past and annihilating it, almost calling it the old bones that you're just going to bury, and moving into the future. And there was my queen, my goddess, that I had seen in the vision 5 months earlier, and she was real. And immediately, it was amazing. People thought we had been together already for years, which wasn't the case, but basically our souls were so connected, and the relationship just flowed, where I think it was almost in a week, we were already almost in a honeymoon trip in the Azores. And then we've been together ever since, almost every day. And it's actually really beautiful. And actually, she's right here. So I'm gonna materialize her in the video if she could. Make some room for my goddess, so you can see that this is for real. And then I think what's amazing is also she had been doing some of this work for herself. So maybe I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Victoria, and really I had somewhat of a similar experience happening simultaneously as Manex did, with a little bit of a different timeline. I too had left a marriage that really both my partner and I had just grown out of. We were in very, very different places at the time. And one of the things that I did upon releasing that relationship was really go deep into my introspection and self-reflection. I was pursuing a lot of my own interests and my path of spirituality. And one of the things that it really made me do was get very, very detailed and focused and meditate on the qualities that I really wanted to call in for all of my future relationships, whether that was professional, romantic, or even friendships. And so what I found in my experience was that I had lots of tests throughout the process. For me, it was a period of really being alone and on my own for about 4 years before I met Manex. And so I went through this introspection of, okay, I would have tests calling in. I experienced different tests in the form of people showing up that were reinforcing the negative patterns that I had been trying to release with my past relationship. And I found that those were incredibly beneficial, because what they forced me to do was really take a look at those patterns that I was continuing to hold at a specific frequency. And I had to ask myself if that was really serving me, or if that was something that I too wanted to level up from, or to approach in a different way going forward. And so it was a lot of work. There were times when I really did question if I was going to meet somebody, because while I pulled in a lot of fulfilling career relationships, professional relationships, and friendships, but on a romantic level, I really wondered for quite a long time if I was going to meet somebody who could meet me at the same level and the same frequency that I was trying to hold. And so when I met Manex at the drum circle, like he said, it became very apparent that our frequencies were on the same level. Spiritually, we were very much in the same place, and we share so much in common. And there were so many people that had thought that we had been together for so long. And it was just this instantaneous connection that felt like, upon meeting him, that I had come home to myself, which was incredibly reaffirming to me in the time that I had spent alone.
Completely. I melted and my spirit was completely going. I mean, I almost felt a little bit embarrassed because my spirit was already bothering her, let's say, or just coming in the meditation and meditating with her, where I didn't even know her, I wasn't even introduced to her, but it was just already apparent that we were meant to be together. And that's the story.
Oh, so wonderful, Manesh and Victoria. And by the way, Victoria, thank you for jumping into these webinars on such an ad hoc, such a spontaneous level. Thank you so much. Really amazing. Now, I just want to share another thing with our audience here, right? Victoria, you mentioned the word frequency, right? And it's so relevant because Victoria and Manesh, they're co-creating together a lot of magical things, of course, a lot of projects. And one of these beautiful projects is a project called Frequency, right? It's basically a set of essential oils that Manesh sent to me from Europe to Southeast Asia, and these essential oils are just not just any essential oils, but they're like some truly potent essentials of the nature. And I use this, just as very off the script basically, I use this every morning and every evening during my meditative practice. I connect with these beautiful essential oils. Every essential oil has a message. This one has a trust, and it has such a beautiful smell and scent of the very earthly. So this is something that Victoria and Manesh have been creating together, and it's just wonderful, and it's really enhanced my life as well. So once again, Manesh and Victoria, thank you so much for sharing this beautiful story. Now, Manesh, let's continue with this amazing webinar on the topic of attracting soulful relationships. Now, I would love, Manesh, for us to cover now two important paradigm shifts when it comes to attracting and really materializing soulful, fulfilling relationships. Now, the first paradigm, Manesh, I would love for you to share your bits of wisdom on this, is that you mentioned the following when we had a call, when we conversed via WhatsApp and our Zoom calls, is everyone thinks that they need to look for a relationship, but when you are aligned, the right relationships come to you. So a lot of people, here's a paradigm shift, a lot of people think that you need to look and go after a relationship, but in reality, when you're properly aligned with yourself and your soul's essence, all true and the right relationships will come to you. Manesh, can you share some on this important paradigm shift?
Yes, Clement, there's that old saying that we're all looking for love in the wrong places. And this is really real, because you have to go inside to find the love within. Just like Victoria was talking about, she went inside, was challenged by her own hooks, and she leveled up, and then the relationship came to her. I mean, this is exactly what I did. I went and leveled myself to be able to liberate from a bad relationship to then attract the real potent relationship that my soul wanted. And then the magic starts happening. So it's never outside. You know, we go to bars, we go to parties, we go to events, we go to all these things to try to find love. But it's actually looking for love inside. It's doing the work inside. And it's really how you attract what you are meant to have. And as soon as you level up, as soon as you understand what your connection is to yourself, to your soul essence, and you start manifesting that, you start materializing that essence, then your frequency goes out. And we don't understand how powerful we resonate outside. And then we go and bring that in. So we're really like these magnets when we are in our soul essence to change matter and bring people that are correctly aligned to our soul's mission to us.
Wonderful and amazing, Manesh. Now, you mentioned something very important word here, relationship with ourself, right? And I remember when we are, conversing and talking on WhatsApp and Zoom calls, how you mentioned once how everything in our lives, how everything in our reality and everything that we experience is literally a direct reflection of our relationships that we have with ourselves. So the paradigm shift here is that relationship with self. So the listener, the relationship that you have with yourself dictates and impacts the relationships that you have with your external world. So Manesh, can you share more wisdom on this important topic, how the relationship we have with ourselves is actually the key to creating soulful, fulfilling relationships with external world?
Yes, Clement, I'm really happy that you've actually really integrated that knowledge already. It's nice to hear you say it. basically, you know, I love physics and I love quantum physics. And in physics, they talk about the mirroring effect that we talked about a little bit. And so basically, we're all kind of hallucinating our reality. And whatever we attract in our reality, whatever our perception field is in our reality, is actually something that's going on inside of us. And so whenever we shift our perception with ourselves, whenever we shift the relationship that we have with ourselves and with other things, our reality shifts. And we actually literally manifest that reality into being. So it all stems from the relationship with our inner being. And this is why spirituality is so important. And doing the work, when people say you have to do the work, it's about that. It's about how do you connect to your deep essence and how do you clean the kind of hooks that keep you down from moving into your higher frequency so that you can attract the higher relationships and reality that you're meant to have as your soul essence.
And Manex, I can't wait for you to share probably the most profound technique for connecting with our soul's essence and enhancing these relationships with ourselves, which you call the magic mirror effect. Dear listener, I hope you're ready for this. I think this will blow your soul in a beautiful, of course, enlightening way. Now, before we go into the magic mirror effect, let's first, Manex, cover the 5 fundamental relationships that we have as human beings in this earthly experience. So let's first cover, Manex, the first relationship is relationships with the things or material possessions. Manex, can you share a little bit more on what this really is and why it is important in the context of creating and materializing soulful relationships?
Yeah, so out of the 5 relationships that we have as humans, the first one is things. And the things are really interesting because they kind of give us an idea that this life is real. When we have things, you know, that reflect who we are, we want to possess those things. And that experience of owning, being able to use that thing, being able to connect to that thing gives us a certain empowerment, gives us a certain sense of connection, gives us a certain sense of reality. And so those are the first relationships that we have, you know, whether it's our bed, whether it's the house, whether it's the car that we drive, whether it's our clothes that we have, whether it's the necklaces that we wear that identify who we are, basically, and they help mirror that. And it's interesting what things you're going to attract in your life at different stages of your evolution.
This is so profound, Manex, and also how, as you mentioned, how we relate and connect with our things in our lives and material possessions. For example, the relationship with our mobile phone, for example, that one is quite big one, right? How the mobile phones and this digital connectedness can actually hinder and impact everything in our lives. Perhaps I would love, Manex, for you to share a little bit more on this specific element, the material thing that is literally in a way the doorway into the digital world and connectedness with the world. In fact, mobile phone can also be a really powerful tool to enhance our connections and relationships. However, it can as well be something that drains our energy. Manex, any wisdom and any practical advice on how to enhance our relationship literally with our mobile phones?
So that's a really good question, and that's a very true topic today. I had a teacher that would destroy any mobile phones that came onto his property because he felt that basically it took away from our own connection, and it also was kind of like a cheat code to our own abilities. So in a sense, if you think of the phone, it's quite a magical tool. You know, the wizards of the ancient times would have loved to have this crystal form, because that's what it is, to connect psychically to anyone in the world, you know, to get any information. It's almost like you're getting a download into the Akashic records. You're getting into this incredible, powerful object that basically can identify you with the rest of the world, right? and you get to express yourself. You can take pictures for memories, those shared memorable experiences. But when you're completely connected to this object, you're removing some of your power of also being able to tune in and have those psychic connections. I mean, all of us have experienced that we almost get that sense before we get the text or before we get the call. We know somebody's going to call us. We know somebody, we might even be thinking of that person specifically that gives us the call. And this is actually more important. And sometimes the phone can take that connection away, which is our spiritual empowerment.
Now, wonderful, Manex, thank you for sharing this. And it's so interesting to even label that we are in a relationship with our phones, which is so interesting. And thanks to your wisdom, Manex, I want to thank you here on this webinar. And thanks to some of the wisdom of our Soulvana authors, other authors, I've really, how do I say, enhanced and evolved my relationship with my mobile phone. And it's so funny that literally I'm labeling it as relationship with the phone, which I believe we really are. As you mentioned, we are in a relationship. We relate to our material possessions and things. And I'm a big believer that technology on itself is not good or bad. It's how we use it. It's how we relate to it that really matters and makes the difference. Amazing, Manex. So we covered the first fundamental of human relationships, which is things or material possessions. Now the second layer, the second fundamental of our human relationships are, of course, relationships with people in our lives. This includes family members, siblings, friends, co-workers, even strangers. Manex, any practical advice and bits of wisdom on how to enhance and attract more soulful, fulfilling relationships with people that surround us in our reality?
So I'm actually just going to go and touch upon something that you've said. You know, I had a teacher that used to say electricity is something, a thing, very much like our phone. It's neutral. It's really good when it powers the refrigerator, and you know, we can actually keep our food from having disease and keep it fresh. And so that's actually helped our whole human existence to flourish. But you put a toaster that's plugged in into your wife's bath and she's going to die. And so it's how you use the object that's going to change what its use is, you know? And this is very true with things. It's how you relate to it and how you use it, right? The object is neutral. It's what we put onto the object that's important. And I'm talking about this because with people, it's really important to understand that whatever you put into the relationship with that person, you know, are you gifting of yourself? Are you caring about the other? Because the other is a part of yourself. And that's really hard for people to grasp because it looks like it's somebody else. They obviously seem like they're outside of us. They are something else, somebody else. They're having their own life. But the fact that they're interacting with you, it is a part of you. This is actually goes back to psychology. Our father and our mother are the first two masculine and feminine imprints that actually shape our subconscious mind and shape the masculine and the feminine within us, which is why we have to go back and, you know, revisit those relationships in order to understand ourselves. And then our family surroundings gives us a certain other shape. And then after that, it's going to be our social groups, our friends, and then our coworkers, etc., etc. The relationship with each of these people is a definition of something within us. And so really understanding that, it goes back to some of the classics, you know, love thy neighbor. Well, it's not just love thy neighbor, it's love thyself, because thy neighbor is self. And so when you understand that, you can see that every person that you interact with is reflecting a piece of you, and they're helping you understand where you're having trouble within you. So if you have a problem with somebody, it's very much because you're having an issue with yourself.
This, Manesh, is slightly mind-boggling. Thank you for sharing this, and I fully feel this, right? The laws of quantum physics dictate literally that it's the observer who is creating the reality. So what you share right now literally backs up the claim that, now modern science finally kind of proved and confirmed what as you shared, ancient mystics and shamans have known for thousands of years, that literally, as you shared, the other is actually part of us, right? So this is really, really profound, Manesh. Thank you for sharing this. Now let's go to the third fundamental layer of human relationships. After things and people, it's another very interesting thing that you mentioned, and that one also, when you first taught it to me, was relatively new, but it makes total sense. It is the relationship with the situations in our lives, right? And by situations, we might refer to positions or status in the family, perhaps status in your community, perhaps that might be your current job or occupation, perhaps your race, literally the skin color, your current situation as a human being. Manesh, can you share your wisdom on why and how this layer of relationships with situation is so important in today's life?
Yes, a lot of times most people don't even realize that we are in a relationship with our situation. Yet, how many times, because you're the eldest son or the eldest daughter, all of a sudden there's all these roles that are put onto you. Or again, because of your religious, cultural programming or beliefs, you then get projected upon, and you have to fit these types of characteristics and behaviors and traits. Same thing with race, because of your skin color, there's projections on your life. And so your situation is really important in identifying who you are, and your relationship to yourself, again, gets identified by your situation. And this is also very tricky. This is where our ego gets very tied into it. If you're the CEO of the company, and you might not want to lose that identity of that situation because you've kind of reached an incredibly important and well-viewed situation that you'd want to hang on to, versus, I don't know, maybe being the garbage man. Yet, the situation of being a garbage man and cleaning our garbage is actually really important. And I think in our culture, unfortunately, we don't value the garbage man as much as we see the CEO, where in indigenous tribes and the shamanic knowledge is that all jobs are equal. All jobs are as important as the other, and there isn't one that's better than the other. And that the situation can shift. I mean, you can get fired from your CEO job, and then, that becomes history. So when I left Sony, and I was moved into the shamanic path, and I say that because my ego was clinging on to, this very celebrated young executive. And in a sense, I had a career path where very quickly, within 5 to 10 years, I could become the CEO of some music label or other media label. And during the internet boom, that was almost expected that I was going there. And when I was brought into the mountains as kind of a bum that needed to go and live in caves and with the trees and with the animals, there was a lot that I had to let go of to allow for that transition to happen. And then, as life brought me into this situation of now becoming a healer, medicine man, I've been rewarded and my soul is much happier. But I had to go through that process of letting go of that situation and taking on a new situation. And in a sense, I try not to even put names on myself anymore within the situation, because each moment your situation is different. And this is actually something that's really fundamental, is to understand that you are shifting at all times into a multidimensional being that can play out different situations. Yet there's certain fundamental ones where you are the son of this person for life. You are the elder brother or sister for life, right? There's certain things that you are, or your skin color, you can't really change that. Male or female. I mean, now we're starting to see some transgender that are able to shift that aspect, but fundamentally in your genetics, you are in that situation. And it's an amazing aspect is to love that about yourself and accept that about yourself so that you can start thriving with why your soul picked that situation to define a part of you.
Amazing, Manesh. And to summarize it, it's also important how we relate to the situations that we are experiencing. Amazing, Manesh. So let's recap. So we covered right now relationship with things or material possessions. Then second was relationship with people around us. Then the third one was relationship that we relate to with the situations that we are experiencing or that we are in. Now, the fourth one, equally interesting and important, is the relationship with our environment. So where we are, where we live. And this might be a living space, this might be a workspace, it might be the city, town where you live, it might be nature, it might be your inner space. Manesh, I would love for you to share some practical bits of wisdom on the topic of relating and enhancing our relationships with our environment.
I remember reading this thing about where you're born. The water actually has a certain form, it has a geometric pattern, and it basically imprints you in your cells. And wherever you go in the world, wherever the water has that same geometric form, you will feel at home in, which I thought was amazing. And when you look at this planet, there's so many different types of environment, landscapes. We talked about the tropical versus the mountain, the forest, the beach, the desert, you know, the cities, the valleys, the rivers. I mean, there's so many different types of environments. There's apartments in a city, there's country homes out in the suburbs, there's the wild cabins in the woods. What is your soul frequency? What is what you truly resonate with and can identify with, and how you relate actually helps you with your health. It actually helps you with your mindset, with your emotional balance. And then as you set yourself in the right frequency of your right environment, you start being able to thrive and expand into your resonance, and therefore you're able to attract the right relationships. And obviously in terms of work, if you're in the wrong work environment, you're not going to thrive. You're not going to be able to produce as much as what you can if you're in the right place. This is fundamental. The environment actually shapes us, and we understand now with genetics that, and epigenetics, is that the external world has a massive influence on the expression of our genetics. And so our environment is so important. This is actually how you meet. And, you know, I have some people who say, but I love to be out in nature, far away from everyone. How am I ever going to meet anybody? And the magic of the world is that if you're in your right environment and you start expanding your frequency and your soul's essence, and you materialize that, it doesn't matter where you are. You're going to actually meet the right person. My grandparents met by biking, and my grandfather was biking out in the deep country. You know, he really liked being in the mountains. My grandmother was visiting her father, who was also in the country, and she went for a bike ride. My grandfather loved to bike as a sport, and of course he was on the wrong side of the road, and then they crashed, you know. I mean, literally, that's how they met. Like, you would never expect that, but because they were in their frequencies, they were able to meet. And then they had a 60-year marriage, so it's pretty amazing.
It is, Manesh, pretty amazing. Thank you for sharing this. Now, we've covered so far 4 layers, 4 fundamental relationships. We covered things, relationships with people, relationships with situation, and relationship with our environment. Now, Manesh, we come to the 5th relationship that I know you almost call as the ultimate relationship that impacts everything else, just like a tiny seed basically creates a massive tree and impacts everything else. It is the relationship with ourself, or the relationship with self. This includes ego, emotions. Manesh, can you please share why this particular layer of relationship with self is basically almost everything? If we get this part right, everything else comes into place. I would love for you to share your wisdom and experiences on this particular topic.
So yes, in our society, that's not exactly what we're taught, right? We are always looking externally for the definition of who we are and how we relate to everything externally. But yet, who is relating to all those things? Well, you. So the fundamental relationship that we need to really look at is yourself. How do you relate to your spiritual self? How do you relate to your mind? How do you relate to your heart? How do you relate to your emotions? How do you relate to your body? Those are fundamental aspects of learning about who you are, who is looking outside, who is the observer, and there is ways and techniques of understanding that. And I think we're going to move into that briefly, but this is so fundamental, and it shifts your life completely when you start seeing everything from within first. How do you feel about the things, the people, your environment, your situation? It's within you. And okay, if they're in a certain way, I don't know, if you don't have the right car, how do you shift something within you to then level up to then get the right car? That's actually how things work. And we are taught the exact opposite, is seek whatever you want externally first, but we don't do the work within, and therefore a lot of disturbances, a lot of pain, and a lot of suffering gets generated when actually we need to go in to elevate our relationship with ourselves first. And from there, you'll see your needs might change. Your views on your situations might change. I mean, when I started accepting that I wasn't going to be an executive and that I was actually going to be somebody of service to humanity, my ego had to do some massive transformation. And that's what I mean by up-leveling. It had to transcend and transform and accept my soul's role. And as soon as it did, then it was able to manifest an incredible life. And now I'm really happy, and my whole situation has drastically shifted.
Amazing, Manex. You mentioned something called the key to attracting soulful, fulfilling relationships is to actually enhance the relationships with ourselves, is to connect with ourselves. Now, dear listener, this is where we come to the best part of this webinar. So to give you some context, in the last 2 years, I spent some pretty remarkable time with some of the world's most remarkable spiritual teachers. Of course, Manex, Ibar is one of them. And as a result of sitting in recording studios all around the world, I got to experience so many different techniques and modalities. And this is the best part about life. When you think that you know everything, then suddenly you learn something new that just bedazzles and boggles your mind. And this is exactly what happened with Manex. So as you probably know, dear listener, there are so many different ways to connect with yourself. I mean, you can go into nature, you can do some breath work, close your eyes, meditative experiences, various spiritual practices. There's so many different ways to connect. But there's one specific modality or technique that will allow you to connect with yourself on a deeper level than you have probably ever connected with yourself. And this is where we come to the topic that Manex calls the magic mirror effect. And yes, it has to do with the power of mirrors, the mirror that you probably have in your washroom. In fact, you look yourself into the mirror probably at least 2 times a day, in the morning and in the evening. And Manex, let's first cover what is the magic mirror effect. If you can please summarize it, what it is, so that we can really understand it. How would you describe this, almost to somebody who is right now just listening with ears open and minds open? What is the magic mirror effect?
I mean, we've all known the Disney, the magic mirror, who's the fairest of them all, or who's the fairest of them all. And then the mirror starts showing and transforming, and that's the magic mirror of actually taking some old druidic magic rituals, which was to use an obsidian rock that creates the mirror effect, and you're able to look deep within yourself. Okay, so you actually, instead of meditating and closing your eyes, as soon as you close your eyes, you actually shift your perception to another type of reality. So the key here is to actually look with your eyes open at your own eyes. And so you're having this reflection effect of looking inside the windows to your soul, which is your eyes, and we look deep into the observer, and you start reflecting that back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, which becomes very uncomfortable for the ego at first. And then there's something that happens. There's a deep transformation. So basically, this magic mirror effect is to look at yourself with your eyes open and to look very closely within your eyes at your own pupil and to find your true essence. And you're going to start connecting with many different aspects of yourself. You'll see the uncomfortable ego. You'll start seeing your inner child. You'll start seeing your teenager. You'll start seeing your 20-year-old, and on until your age. And you'll be able to start looking at that person and loving that person, and basically encouraging each aspect of yourself as you're seeing yourself. And literally, your own face might change, but it's not about judging yourself. This is what happens when we look in the mirror for now. Most of us are looking at it with our ego, and we're just looking at whether we fit the part that we want. We look at ourselves brushing your teeth, as you mentioned. We brush our hair, put some makeup on, or whatever, we set ourselves with our clothes. Those are all kind of exterior and very superficial things. Most of us don't actually look at ourselves truly. We don't take the time to go and look at our inner being. And this is the real mirror effect, is to be able to see ourselves. This was an old druidic ritual that was meant to reveal your soul's essence to yourself. And in a way, I've given this to a lot of different people across the world. And then the joke, of course, was on me. When I went up into the mountains for 44 days, on the third week, my teacher gave me a full body mirror and told me that I needed to go and look at the mirror for 4 hours a day rather than 5 minutes a day, which is maybe something I'm going to give you as an exercise so that you can shift your life. And the shifts that happen with this exercise are astonishing.
Amazing, Manex. Thank you so much for sharing this. This is so, at least for me, still so new and really interesting to kind of absorb. Now, can you summarize, Manex, specifically how exactly do we do this magic mirror technique? For example, you mentioned, okay, look ourselves, what exactly do we need to do? Can you give us perhaps a practice? For example, is there something that we can do for the next 7 days, for example, or do we have to, 20 minutes? Is it 5 minutes, morning, evening? Like, if you could summarize it to our audience so that they get something really, really amazing and practical out of this webinar. So Manex, I would love for you to give us literally the framework, how specifically and practically to bring this magic mirror effect into our lives.
Okay, so the ritual goes like this. Basically, you want to sit down, you want to have a small mirror, preferably, or if you have to, you stand up, put your phone, put 5 minutes on the timer, and you're going to bring the mirror to your left eye, and you're going to focus just on your left eye, and you're going to bring yourself as close as you can to the mirror, as much as it's comfortable, so that you don't see your face, but you just focus on your left eye. Then you're going to start staring in that left eye, and for a little bit it's uncomfortable, but just keep staring at your eye, your iris, your pupil, everything, and just go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And eventually, just try to talk to yourself and give love to yourself. You're going to see yourself, and you're going to see the inner child inside your eye. So give love to that inner child. Give love to the teenager. Give love to all aspects of yourself through the window of your eye into your soul. And allow your soul to communicate with itself and the different parts of you. And you're going to just relax and breathe normally as you look inside your eyes for 5 minutes. And the real transformation usually happens after 7 days, so it's 21 days. There's something magical about 21 days of doing anything, which is a tantric number, which truly creates a transformation. So the first 7 days is an ego transformation. The second 7 days, you start getting a soulful transformation. And the last 7 days is the integration. I've seen things happen with this mirror exercise that are phenomenal. I had a woman who was so weak in her self-confidence. I mean, she could barely speak to anyone. She was so shy at work. She was, very low-end secretary, and she was about 42. She'd never accomplished anything in her life. She'd had one relationship when she was a teenager. She broke her heart, and so then she lost her self-confidence. She did this exercise. Not only after the second week, everyone started saying, wow, you're like really different and you're looking beautiful and you're shining and this and that. After the third week, she met a man and they got married within 6 months because it was actually her soul connection. I had another man who couldn't get out of his job level. He was kind of a middle manager, and basically he came to me because he felt like he lacked self-confidence, or there was a block, or there was something that was preventing him from achieving his real purpose. And he felt like he could achieve something else. And he basically started doing the mirror exercise, and after 21 days was able to not only move jobs, he was hired by the competitive company to become the CEO of that company, and completely changed his whole life because of the interview that he was able to nail, because all of a sudden his relationship to himself had drastically changed and he was empowered by this. And it just goes on. I had a little girl that was 7 years old that was really lacking self-confidence, and she didn't want to go to school. She was so blocked because she was made fun of. She was able to do this exercise, and within 7 days, she became the most popular girl at school. She actually would wake up her parents to go to school because she was so excited. And the parents called me and said, "What have you done?" She's waking us up at 6:30, ready, dressed up and ready to go to school when it's not even time, I mean, this is a very powerful tantric secret weapon that I've given to thousands of people. And very fast, I can see if the person has done the exercise or if they haven't, because there's a radical transformation. So I hope you do this, because this is a free gift right now. And it's a incredibly life transformational gift.
Amazing, Manex. Thank you for sharing this practical technique. Not just the wisdom, but also we love here practicality, something that, as you mentioned, we can literally take away from this webinar, of course, on top of your amazing wisdom, that just opening our hearts and souls in so many different dimensions and ways. However, this technique is something that you, the listener, you literally should and you must try it out for at least a few days and see how you will really start connecting with your soul's essence on such a beautiful, profound way. Now, dear listener, please ask yourself the following. Would you say that this time spent here on this webinar with Manex was a time well spent for you? Would you say that you learned something new? Did you get perhaps any new insights? Did you perhaps get any new knowledge or any new revelations that you feel will move you forward and higher in your life, not just in your external relationships, but also in relationships with yourself? Now, if you answered yes to any of these questions, me and Manex would love to invite you into Manex's new program titled Quintessence. It's a 6-week program where we literally bring Manex to you, to the comfort of your home, to the comfort of your mobile phone, so you don't have to fly around the world, especially in these times where traveling is a little bit tricky, so that you basically have Manex's wisdom and guidance literally at your fingertips 24/7, anytime you want. As I mentioned, this program is a 6-week program with 6 distinctive modules where Manex himself will guide you through an easy to follow, step-by-step system where every day you will be investing only 10 to 20 minutes a day to start experiencing some profound shifts and transformations, not only in the relationship with yourself and relationship with other people and material possessions in your world, but also with your health, career, money, finance. Basically, we are bringing Europe's leading shaman to your fingertips to help you elevate all spheres of your life. Now, Manex, I would love for you to share the title, the name of this program. This transformational program is Quintessence. Can you please share with us, Manex, what does the word quintessence really mean and why it's so related to this particular 6-week program?
So quintessence is basically your sacred essence. It's your secret, soulful, and combined essence of your entire being. And so basically, in this course, you're going to connect to all aspects of yourself and really touch upon your soul's essence, your quintessence, so that you can reveal your full embodiment of your conscious and soul essence into this life. From that, your life will shift. You will start attracting the right relationships, the right jobs, the right house, the right environments, the right things, and your relationship to the old will also start moving very quickly and with no effort out of your life to make room for your quintessence to take hold and really give you a fulfilling, deep, joyful, heartful, mindful life.
Thank you so much, Manex, for sharing this and the meaning of the word quintessence and why it so relates to today's topic of this webinar. Now, dear listener, another beautiful part about this particular journey, it's how it is structured. So as Manex mentioned, you get results and transformations really fast. Now, the beauty of Quintessence journey is in structure. So every module covers a specific topic, very important aspect of your life, which we will cover very shortly right now. But the beauty of every module is that it comes with what we call a lesson day. So you start every module with the lesson day where Manex himself will be teaching you. So Manex will literally put ahead of a teacher and explain you some really important shamanic concepts that are very practical, very useful to implement into your specific life. And then what you get, the next days you get what we call practice days. This is where you get various guided meditations, activations, shamanic journeys where Manex himself will be guiding you through various meditative experiences where you will not be just passively learning something, but you will actually immerse yourself into various shamanic journeys simply by pressing play button on your phone or on your computer. And the last day of every module is what we call a reflection day. This is where you simply reflect back what you've experienced during the week, during the module, and then you can of course also share it with our community, private community with other fellow students from all around the world. Now Manex, let's briefly cover the curriculum of Quintessence 6-week program. So there are 6 distinctive modules organized into weeks. So you will go week by week, step by step. As I mentioned, it takes only on average roughly 10 to 20 minutes a day. So the first module, Manex, is titled Entering Extraordinary Consciousness. Can you share a little bit more about what you will cover and what you will help us in this particular module and what the student can expect to experience as a result by the end of this module?
So, in order to have conscious relationships, you have to enter into your extraordinary consciousness. And we all have different levels of consciousness available to us. We all know the awakened state, our conscious state, and then there's this subconscious that is actually controlling most of our life, 85% of it. And then there's the supra-consciousness state, which I call, in a sense, the quintessence, the soulful connection that you can have where you see things from a much higher perspective and you're able to get your magic down into your life, which then can reprogram your subconscious and program your conscious awareness. So this is what we'll go into in module 1, is how to enter into each aspects of those 3 consciousness states and then be able to actually activate at will the different levels so that you can basically enter your quintessence.
Amazing, Manesh. Thank you so much. Now, after module 1, of course, comes module number 2. And module number 2 will all be about entering self-empowerment. Manesh, what will we experience in this particular module number 2?
So in module number 2, you get to really go deep into yourself, connecting with yourself. And this is very shamanic, where we're going to go into 3 different levels. You got your lower level, in a sense, which is connecting to your animal totem and regaining your physical experience so that you can understand that. You're going to go into the middle world, where you get to connect with your element and your elemental strength and weakness. And then you're going to also connect to your higher spiritual essence, and also even understand your spiritual guides, so that you have your counsel and you're able to basically get guidance, personal guidance, connect to your personal essence, connect to your elements, and connect to your animal self, so that you have the full spectrum of your being aligned and acting in this world.
Now, module number 3, Manesh, will be healing your physical body. Manesh, can you share a bit more about this particular module, what we will experience, and what are some of the results that we can expect to get out of this particular module?
So when we talked about the relationships, the 5 different relationships, one of the fundamental ones is about the relationship with our physical body. And this is about the self, right? The relating to yourself. Well, our physical body has a huge impact on how we live in this life. A lot of our body has taken on a lot of our psychology, a lot of our emotions, a lot of toxins from our bad food, from all sorts of things. And basically, healing the physical body is really important. Not only that, but our body is actually a reflection of what's going on emotionally and psycho-emotionally, as I like to call it. So understanding our relationship with our body's messages by its symptoms or its pains, we're not only able to heal it and release it, but also gain consciousness about what our body was trying to teach us, so that we can really get tuned in to our frequency, our higher soul essence.
Thank you, Manesh. And then what's so special about this particular program is that after healing our physical body, the next module, module number 4, will be all about healing our emotional and spiritual realms. Manesh, any thoughts on this? Why this is important? What results can we expect to get out of this particular module?
So after we get into the physical body, we need to really take care of these psycho-emotional issues. And oftentimes this is where most of our diseases in our world today are psycho-emotional. And I'm going to give you practical tools and meditations so that you can go and track where those emotions are in your body and how to reveal their messages and then clear them energetically, emotionally, mentally, so that you can start becoming again aligned to your true essence without any kind of destruction or self-sabotage or, blocks that are basically not letting your energy be fluid. That's the key, is to be very fluid energetically, and our unresolved emotions, unresolved thought forms basically are held in our energetic body and basically clog up our real potential. So it's very fundamental.
Wonderful, Manesh. Now, after this important module comes another module that's super relevant to today's webinar, to the topic of relationships. In module number 5, you will help us create fulfilling relationships. Manesh, any thoughts on this particular module? What we will experience? What can we expect to get out of this particular module?
So in this 5th module, we're going to enhance your connection to each of the 5 relationships that we mentioned in this webinar. And we're going to go really deep into what things you have and what things you need to release and what things you want to attract. We're going to find the people and, what are the right people in your lives and the ones that are actually draining you and taking away your energy. We're going to find your situations. Are they good reflections of your soul's essence or not? Can we shift those situations? And then we're going to move into the environment. We each have an environment that helps us thrive. And then eventually go much deeper into your own sense of self so that you can connect to your soul quintessence.
And so that you can finally, module number 6, which is also extremely important module and topic in our life, it's all about the final module will be all about manifesting and materializing your soul's dreams into your reality. Manesh, in this module number 6, we will connect everything, bring together, and what can we expect to experience in this particular final module of your Quintessence program?
So in this last module, you basically bring everything together, as you said, and your relationship to yourself shifts by this point. And at that, you're going to start manifesting, you're going to start materializing your soul's essence. And so there's going to be some drastic shifts that start happening in the different parts of your life. This is where we start manifesting in accordance to your higher consciousness and in accordance or harmony with the universe. And so without effort, you're going to start manifesting your dream life on all levels, your dream relationships, your dream material things, your dream situations, your dream environments, and you're going to start activating your quintessence to revolutionize your life. This is the goal. This is why we want to do this workshop. It's to be able to manifest your dream life.
Wonderful, Manesh. We can't wait to start with this amazing program. Now, dear listener, here's the best part. Now, as you probably know, Manesh is working with some truly influential human beings. And the truth is, not everyone can really afford to work directly one-on-one with Manesh. And also, if you wanted to, let's say, attend his Vision Quest, which his private events, you would have to pay anywhere from $5,000 or even $10,000 or even more for the ticket, accommodation, travel. You would have to go through various time zones. So basically, you would have to invest thousands of dollars to get the magic that Manesh has to offer. And that's why, and this is the beauty of Quintessence program, is that you don't have to invest thousands of dollars to really get the magic from Europe's leading shaman, to have Europe's leading shaman literally standing by your side, literally guiding you day by day, week by week, and really helping you elevate not only the relationship with yourself, but basically all spheres and aspects and dimensions of your life. And the beauty of Quintessence 6-week program is that the enrollment price is not $5,000 or $3,000. It's not even $1,000. The retail price on our website is only $695. However, as you probably know, it's in our tradition to reward you, the listener, for you taking the time, investing your precious time to watch this webinar. And as such, you just unlocked a special discounted enrollment price, which lets you enroll into Quintessence 6-week program for only $299, which is almost 60% of the regular retail price on our website. So you will find the link to enroll now here below on this button. Now keep in mind that you are also protected with our unconditional money back guarantee, which simply means in practical terms, if you are not happy or satisfied with the program for any reason, you can literally visit soulvana.com/refund or send one simple short message to support@soulvana.com and you will get a full instant refund. So you are fully protected. The best way to do is simply enroll now, get started with Quintessence program, and have Europe's leading shaman helping you, standing by your side, helping you really enhance and elevate all spheres and aspects and dimensions of your life. Of course, starting also with your connection with yourself, with the relationship with the world. And as Manesh mentioned also, you start materializing, manifesting into your life, into your reality, all the soul's desires and aspirations that you really want to bring forth and experience in your life. Manesh, before we close this amazing, beautiful webinar, I would love for you to share any final thoughts, perhaps any downloads that you feel called to share with the audience.
Sure, just a quick note. I've been really enjoying on Facebook, there's also a group that comes with the course, and I participate in the Facebook group, so that I actually give a lot of other little tips and tricks and advice and answer personal questions. So that's something that's really powerful and a really beautiful added bonus to the course. Just really quickly, for the people who do know John and Missy, one of the relationships that shifted while we worked together was that they ended up moving to Hawaii. And drastically, they were in Chicago in this beautiful house that they built. And in their relationship with themselves, they started seeing that actually their Hawaii purchase that they had bought a long time ago was actually much more ideal to their environment, that was going to actually bring their soul's essence into action. And they took the jump and actually are now living in Hawaii. And it's a really beautiful shift that's happened. So, you're gonna attract exactly what your soul needs at the right time. And this is really important. But as you go deeper within yourself, you are going to have exactly what your soul desires. And accepting that deeply is the key. And this is something that sometimes requires a lot of shifts, but it's so worth it, because when you're in alignment, you thrive and you have joy, and then everything else shifts. Your right things, your right people, the right career and situations, and the right environment all starts aligning. So thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure to give you guys my time, my wisdom. That's why I'm here. I'm really passionate about this. The course is really concentrated, but very powerful. A lot of people that have gone through it are doing it again, and they're really appreciative of the Soulvana platform having a lifetime access to the information that I share, as well as the very valuable practices that are very advanced, yet very easy to do. So good luck. I hope I see you on Quintessence, and have a beautiful, blessed day or night, depending on where you are in the world.
Thank you so much, Manex, again for sharing these wisdoms and being here with us, taking the time. And as dear listener and dear person watching this right now, as Manex mentioned, yes, as part of Quintessence program, you also get, of course, access to a private community where you can connect not only with other students from all around the world, but also with Manex himself. As Manex mentioned, Manex is regularly scanning the community and really answering also sometimes questions of people, so that there's another beautiful opportunity for you to really get amazing value from Europe's leading shaman. And as Manex also mentioned, you get a lifetime access to Quintessence program, which will let you and allow you to really repeat the program over and over again, just like as you would have almost like an online retreat with Europe's leading shaman. So to get started with Quintessence 6-week program, simply click the link below here on this page. You will find it. It's very beautiful. It's orange color. It says add to cart, enroll now. And remember, you're fully protected with our unconditional money back guarantee and refund policy. In case you don't like the program for any reason, you will get a full instant refund. Thank you so much for being here. Sending you a big hug. And as Manex mentioned, have an amazing rest of the day or the evening, wherever you are in the world. And we will see each other and connect with each other on another webinar, or perhaps a group immersion, or any other program here in Soulvana. Thank you so much, and greetings from Bali.